The debut episode of AEW Collision not only is set to feature the return of CM Punk to All Elite Wrestling programming, but it's also set to feature the debut or return of a major AEW talent. Details on who that could be. Plus, we got details on the ratings for AEW Dynamite this week on TBS. What is the future of AEW Rampage going to be once Collision debuts on TNT later on this year? An update on several stars that are not currently being used on AEW television. The AEW All Out pay-per-view date seemingly has been confirmed. An update also on the pre-sale sign-up numbers for AEW All In at Wembley Stadium. Also an update on AEW possibly trademarking a new company logo. We got a look at that. Plus, Preston Vance reveals the real reason he was unmasked on AEW television. Plus, the Ring of Honor television title will be on the line next week. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about AEW Collision, CM Punk. It's been a busy week for the former two-time AEW World Champion. The hype for AEW's hotly rumoured Saturday night show, reportedly set to be called AEW Collision, continues to build. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, another major debut or return is set to take place when the show premieres on June 17, in addition to the already rumoured CM Punk. While AEW has yet to even confirm the existence of Collision, the company has a date booked at Chicago's United Center on the day in question, and future Saturday events continue to be scheduled. The current belief is that CM Punk will act as one of the anchors of the new series, with a possible roster split dividing talent between Collision and AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays. While there's no word on who the surprise debut or return could be, the options are plentiful. Former New Japan Pro Wrestling star Kota Ibushi is currently a free agent with close ties to individuals in the company, while Mercedes Moné reportedly has one date left on her contract with Bushiroad, leaving her free to sign wherever she might like to in the future. Punk, meanwhile, has been absent from AEW programming since he suffered an injury at September's All Out pay-per-view, tearing his left triceps in a match that saw him reclaim the AEW World Championship. Punk then made a number of controversial statements at the post-show media scrum, and a physical altercation involving Punk, producer Ace Steel, Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson reportedly took place thereafter. Punk was then stripped of the AEW World Championship, while Omega and the Jackson brothers were stripped of the AEW World Trios Championships. Now, I spoke about the brand split, the roster split, whatever you want to call it. Now, WWE, they're not the only company doing a brand split, and certainly several of top AEW stars' fates have now reportedly been revealed, with Tony Khan reportedly conducting a brand split of his own to spread his roster across his television products, including the upcoming Saturday show. We've now got details as to where of some of the top stars will land on AEW programming. It had been previously reported that AEW Dynamite would feature The Elite, that being Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and the Blackpool Combat Club, that being Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli, with the Saturday show being headed up by the returning CM Punk. Dave Meltzer has provided now further details in the current Wrestling Observer newsletter, writing, quote, "The Saturday crew will be headed by Punk and FTR, and the Wednesday crew by The Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club. There have been rumors of Chris Jericho on Saturday because Punk in particular will need a strong opponent. That could be why the meeting was arranged with Jericho. It was recently reported that a meeting took place between Chris Jericho and CM Punk as a precursor to Punk's AEW return. The meeting was said to have gone well, but there are no further details beyond that. The new Saturday show is expected to debut in Punk's hometown of Chicago, Illinois on June 17, potentially announced a month earlier at the upcoming Warner Media Upfronts. It will air from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT Saturday nights, with the idea being that the show would be on the same level as AEW Dynamite. There will naturally be a lot of preemptions due to clashes with other sports on Saturday nights, but that is the ongoing overall plan. So who do you think this surprise debut or return could be? And we're talking about a major name. And I know the phrase major gets thrown around a lot in AEW, but who do you think it could be? Kota Ibushi, Mercedes Moné, someone else? Let me know your thoughts about who it could be in the comment section below. Now, we've got the ratings for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. This week's episode of AEW Dynamite promised an announcement in some form from Tony Khan and had solid name value spread throughout the show, which also featured the shocking debut of Roderick Strong, who was believed to be under a WWE contract. It wasn't necessarily a loaded show on paper, but it held up fairly well in viewership compared to recent weeks. According to Showbuzz Daily and WrestleNomics, Dynamite averaged 863,000 viewers across its 2 hours, which is up 4% week to week. Approximately 365,000 were in the key demo, most valued by advertisers, adults aged 18 to 49, with really no change from last week. The latter figure translates to a 0.28 demo rating, which earned the show 9th place in Showbuzz Daily's rankings of the day's cable originals. Of the 8 shows ahead of Dynamite on cable in the key demo, only one, Vanderpump Rules on Bravo, was not some form of NBA or NHL playoff coverage, so there was a lot of sporting competition this week. So when it comes to a bigger picture of how the show performed compared to recent trends, the WrestleNomics Patreon page tracks viewership across various demographics relative to the median of the prior 4 weeks. By that metric, the biggest movement percentage-wise was seen in the decreases in the female viewership demographics, with female viewers aged 12 to 34 dropping 28% and women aged 18 to 49 dipping by 12%. The biggest percentage gain came in male viewers aged 12 to 34 with a 10% increase. Overall, though, the viewership numbers have stayed fairly steady as of late as AEW continues to build to May's Double or Nothing pay-per-view in Las Vegas. Now, let's switch gears here and talk about AEW Rampage. Of course, another episode is going to be airing this week, but lots of people have been asking about what is the future of Rampage going to be once Collision debuts on TNT? What you're going to have realistically is Rampage on a Friday on TNT and 24 hours later, actually less than 24 hours later, a 2-hour live primetime show happening there as well. What's going to be the case there? Now, pro wrestling fans, as I mentioned, have been wondering in recent weeks how a new AEW show might impact the rest of the promotion's slate of weekly programming. Well, according to a new report, the answer is not much. AEW's new weekly television show will not impact the promotion's TV schedule currently, according to the latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter, which says that AEW Rampage will remain airing on TNT for 1 hour every Friday night, just as it has since the secondary show was launched back in August of 2021. The promotion's yet to be announced third TV show is expected to air on Saturday nights with a returning CM Punk as its central star. The backdrop for Punk's return is quite fitting as well. It's been reported that Punk, aka Phil Brooks, may make his long anticipated return to the squared circle in mid-June when the new AEW programming launches. As I mentioned, Punk has been off since his brawl-out incident, shall we say. The Wrestling Observer newsletter also previously reported that AEW's new show, rumored to be titled Collision, is expected to lead, as I mentioned, some sort of roster split in the company. So it's not expected to change too much when it comes to Rampage. Now, this week, Rampage is set to air at a different time on a different night. So this is, again, quite interesting too. Now, this is going to be airing tonight at a different time. Originally, tonight's show was set to begin at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 2:30 Pacific Time due to being preempted on TNT. However, the show's time has been changed again, now being set to start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern and 3:30 p.m. Pacific per Dave Meltzer on Twitter. The show is set to feature the tag team bout pitting Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson of the Bullet Club Gold against Ricky Starks and Sean Spears. Also set for Rampage is Anna J.A.S. versus Ashley D'Amboise, Cash Wheeler versus Jay Lethal, and Naturally Limitless are also going to be in action. We're also set to hear from the Outcast and the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass on the show as well. So that's for Rampage tonight. The feud, though, between the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club has escalated a lot over the few weeks, and we are going to get more details tonight on Rampage 2. To close out this week's Dynamite show, Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita teamed up to defeat the Butcher and the Blade before being assaulted by the BCC, with the BCC leaving Takeshita bloody after the fight. AEW shared a video to their social media this week showing Omega cutting a promo after the main event on Dynamite. Kenny challenged the Blackpool Combat Club John Moxley to fight him inside a steel cage, a place where they can't run. Shortly after, AEW uploaded another video of the Blackpool Combat Club accepting Omega's challenge for a cage match with John Moxley, with it now being up to Tony Khan to decide if or when the match will take place. The decision is seemingly set to be made on tonight's episode of AEW Rampage, so we should find out when this match is going to happen, if it's going to be on an upcoming episode of Dynamite, if it's going to be at Double or Nothing. We're going to find out more details tonight on TNT. Now, there are several stars, and this is kind of why AEW is having a roster split, isn't there, that aren't being used so much on AEW television at the moment, with Dave Meltzer having previously claimed that Miro has around 3 years left on his contract and that the Bulgarian star had rejected creative plans. A new update has emerged in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. According to Dave Meltzer's AEW sources, quote, "There's nothing new on Miro. He's on the roster and hasn't been used." He would also address the current status of Layla Hirsch, writing, quote, "Layla Hirsch is also still on the roster, but still on the DL with her surgery for a torn ACL in late May. She has been to at least one show recently. Hirsch suffered her knee injury during an April 2022 episode of AEW Dark Elevation that brought her match to an end, and the referee threw up the X symbol. She would undergo surgery for the injury in May 2022 and is slowly getting there, according to a previous report." Miro, meanwhile, was last seen inside of an AEW ring at AEW All Out in 2022, nearly a year ago, when the team of Miro, Darby Allin, and Sting defeated the House of Black. He had previously stated that he was waiting for an opportunity to return to the ring. He recently teased the possibility of a return on a post on social media, but as has been the case for him for quite a while, there's no creator for him, or the creator that was pitched for him he didn't like and he rejected. We have an update when it comes to the date of AEW All Out. There'd been quite a lot of confusion, hadn't there, if the event was even going to be taking place this year, but indeed it is, and we have the date for it too. AEW is finally set to make their debut in the United Kingdom in August, when AEW brings All In to Wembley Stadium on August 27. The date of the show was surprising, as AEW tends to hold its All Out event the following weekend, which would fall just 1 week after the All In show. Despite this, it had been reported that AEW was still planning on bringing All Out to Chicago that weekend, with it now being confirmed. AEW Senior Vice President and Chief Legal Officer Megha Parekh recently spoke to it's such a difficult one to say, A to the K wrestling show, where she confirmed that All Out will be taking place the week after All In. She said, quote, "London, it's been a while since I spent any meaningful time there because of COVID. I'm excited just to go back. We'll have to come back there for All Out the week after, but it should be really fun. I'm most excited to see the wrestling ring in the middle of Wembley Stadium." So certainly she's confirming that, yes, All Out is going to be taking place the week after. Now, when it comes to Megha Parekh, as I mentioned, she's done this big interview recently, and she spoke about a variety of topics. Another topic she spoke about was AEW All Access. Now, she opened up about the new TBS series during her recent interview. She said, quote, "Honestly, for me, it was such a learning experience to see what their process was like," saying when she watched the show for the first time. "I just enjoy learning new things. To me, it was fascinating to see what it's like for them as they're putting matches together, getting ready to go out, what goes into the process as it relates to storytelling." So yeah, I mean, I think the hope is that obviously it will attract a different type of audience and attract more people to watching, not just All Access, but of course also the main programming too. She also spoke about if we should ever see her on AEW programming, and she said no. She said, "I don't think we're going to see much of me on programming." Quote, "I'm terrible at it," Parekh said. "I am. I'm better off behind the scenes. I get so nervous and uncomfortable. People probably don't realize because I do what I do for my job. I'm pretty introverted. I don't have any interest in getting on screen at all. I will save that time for the people that deserve it and have experience in it because it's not my strength. I just, no joke, get so nervous and I'm sweating the whole time. It's awful." So don't expect any more Megha Parekh on AEW programming. Now, she did kind of also open up about negotiations. Of course, she's the chief legal officer. She's involved in a lot when it comes to AEW talent, contracts, etc. She recently spoke about the conflicts that arise from negotiations in sports as well as in wrestling. She said, quote, "I always try to meet people where they are. The same is true on the football side, where we have so many different types of staff that people may not realize. I try my best to, if I'm talking to a coach, my goal is not to necessarily communicate. That is the most natural and easy for me, but try to get them to understand something or explain something or agree with my perspective or position. No matter who I'm talking to, I don't always try to do it in a way that I think is most comfortable for them as opposed to what is most comfortable for me. That is something that took me years to learn." She said, quote, "When I don't persuade somebody of something, I don't necessarily think, oh, they're not listening. I think, how can I say this differently to try and get them to be bought in or explain in a way? I look back, I can't control how they process things, but I can control how I deliver the message. There are a handful of excellent books about negotiations that help. Every conversation, if you think about it as a negotiation, not in a negative way, but what is the purpose? It's probably to try and get someone to agree with a particular perspective I have on a situation. And if that's the case, what is the best way for me to communicate to them so that they're most comfortable? When it comes to communication, she would conclude by exploring how presentation matters when it comes to building trust, concluding, quote, I go through all kinds of gymnastics, whether I'm talking to coaches or city council. I'll change how I dress. I'll change how I present myself. And it's really a matter of trying to make it so they feel comfortable. With a talent, for instance, I don't think if I presented myself as a traditional uptight lawyer, I don't think they would. So much of my job is people having to trust in me. I need to be somebody that is not necessarily someone that seems so much different from them, because then they will be distrustful. I'd rather present in a way that makes them feel comfortable based on who that is that I'm talking to, which again is quite interesting, knowing that again she's heavily involved in several aspects of negotiation in all things AEW. Now let's switch gears and talk about AEW All In, taking place 7 days prior to AEW All Out, and there is no shortage of demand for AEW All In London at Wembley Stadium. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that AEW surpassed 60,000 pre-sale codes for the August 27 event, as the cutoff for codes going out was on April 27, that being yesterday. While there's no word on how it will translate to actual proper ticket sales, which officially go on sale on May 5th, All In reportedly has the most demand for an AEW event since the first All Out that took place in 2019. It was also noted that WWE Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales had a similar pre-sale code system with 89,000 codes sent out. All In will mark AEW's United Kingdom debut after nearly 5 full years of the company's existence. Khan hailed the event's announcement as one of the most important in AEW history before revealing the details on the April 5th episode of Dynamite. However, it remains to be seen if AEW All In will stream on pay-per-view or on television in any capacity, as it's been confirmed that the annual AEW All Out pay-per-view will be taking place again the following weekend. Wembley Stadium has a capacity of 90,000 fans, and a leak map that circulated earlier this week seemingly showed that there are no plans to black out any sections, meaning it could end up being the highest attended AEW event yet, after talents were hopeful to surpass at least 50,000 people in attendance. AEW World Tag Team Champion Dax Harwood has openly pitched the idea of CM Punk and FTR versus the Elite for All In London in hopes of selling out the stadium, but I don't think that will happen. But nevertheless, 60,000 pre-sale codes isn't bad whatsoever. If 2 people per pre-sale code bought tickets, they'd absolutely sell out the stadium. But pre-sale codes and actual tickets sold don't really correlate. So again, we'll have to wait and see. But certainly the interest is there and the demand is very high. Could we be getting a new look at what the future AEW logo is going to be? On April 24, AEW has filed trademark paperwork for a new logo designed for use in a variety of categories. According to USPTO website, the filing was made on April 24 and has not yet been assigned an examiner. The registration is intended to cover the categories of bandanas, beanies, hats, headwear, pajamas, pants, pullovers, shirts, shorts, socks, sweatpants, sweatshirts, underwear, athletic apparel, namely shirts, pants, jackets, footwear, hats and caps, athletic uniforms, jogging suits, outer jackets, polo shirts, sports shirts, t-shirts, tank tops, wristbands as clothing. The submitted logo design the trademark filing pertains to consists of the letters AEW displayed in a stylized manner. Exploring the filing further, the trademark filing has the primary US classes as games, toys and sporting goods, and clothing. The primary international class is listed as primary class clothing, footwear, headgear. So again, some people, it might just be something that just a different style of clothing they want to do, but they could be sort of veering away from the traditional AEW logo by taking the All Elite and Wrestling parts and sort of the border around it and just going for more stylized, sleeker AEW lettering instead, which again is quite interesting as well. Preston Vance has revealed why he took off his mask and left the Dark Order. Speaking on AEW Unrestricted, Vance would reveal that his delayed character change had been a positive one, with Chris Jericho being influential in the development of his new persona. He would also speak about the decision that led him to being unmasked, saying, quote, I remember I was somewhere backstage and Andrade pulled me aside and was like, hey, I'm going to go to Tony. I want you with us. I think you'd look cool in a suit. Take off the mask. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I was doing the 10 thing for, at that point, like 3 years or so. I was pretty ready to change. Vance would also discuss the challenges he faced working under a mask, stating, quote, I never liked wearing the mask. I never wore it before AEW. It's hard trying to connect with people when you're under a mask. There are pros and cons to it. A pro is that you never have to worry about facial expressions or anything, but the con is, I mean, literally, it's hard to show any enthusiasm. It's all body language, so I'm pretty glad I'm done with the mask. So that's the reason why Preston Vance had to change his look on AEW television. Finally, a Ring of Honor Television Championship match has been announced for next week's Ring of Honor show on Honor Club. On this past Thursday's episode of ROH on Honor Club, Christopher Daniels called out Samoa Joe in a backstage interview for a match next week with Joe's Ring of Honor World Television Championship on the line. It's interesting to mention that the last and only time Daniels held the ROH World TV Championship was back in October 2010. He ended up holding the title until June 2011. Joe has been the TV champion since defeating New Japan Pro Wrestling star Minoru Suzuki for the title on the April 13, 2022 edition of AEW Dynamite. Since winning the title, Joe has successfully defended the belt against the likes of Jay Lethal, Brian Cage, Juice Robinson, Mark Briscoe, and Joe's last title defense was against Colt Cabana. This is Joe's first title reign. This week's episode featured Athena successfully defending her Ring of Honor World Women's Championship in a proving ground match against Lady Frost, Blake Christian defeating Gringo Loco, Sky Blue defeating Diamante, and Brian Cage defeating Leon Ruffin. There were also 2 tag team matches on the card with La Faction Ingobernables Preston Vance and Roosh winning against the Infantry's Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, while best friends Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta were in action and defeated Joe Asasio and Mookie Summers. Also for the May 2nd edition of Honor Club, the firm's Lee Moriarty will face Rocky Romero in a Pure Rules match. Moriarty defeated Romero during this week's episode with the help of Big Bill, which caused Romero to issue a rematch and make it Pure Rules. Easy for me to say. So there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.